You're listening to Ideal Practice episode number 175. Today, guys, I've got a brief reflection for you. I want to think about what I would say if I could reach back in time and talk to my 30-something self, knowing what I know now. If I could reach back to her and encourage her, knowing that she had two little ones at home, she had a big idea, big vision, big excitement about what she wanted to build in this baby business that she was getting off the ground. And bless her heart, had no freaking idea what she was doing. I wish I could reach back in time and encourage her. And I want to think about that today. And if you'll stay with me, I've got a little journal prompt that I want to share with you to help you do the same. Wouldn't it be great if we could talk to our early professional selves and just tell her or him, it's going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host. And of course, I am excited about hanging out with you today. I know you guys got a lot going on. It is December, for crying out loud. And I know things are speeding up for everybody about now. I do hope you find a few moments for reflection in the coming days and weeks, because as the world sort of slows down a little bit, as the days get shorter, as the nights get longer, I do feel like nature kind of is inviting us to tune in a little bit more and to reflect a little bit more on our place in the world and our journey through the world that we are in. And that's kind of what I've been doing as I am thinking about where I want to go next year and thinking about what I want to teach you. There's so much I want to share with you guys. I cannot help but think about where I was when I started this crazy thing called entrepreneurship. When I look back at the early days of my private practice, y'all, which was in the early 90s, I'm gonna out myself here. I started my private practice in the early 90s when my children were little. It is kind of crazy to think about what I didn't know back then. At the risk of dating myself terribly, I just want to say we didn't have anywhere near the kind of resources that a private practice owner has today when they're just getting started out. And, it was hard. And I kind of wish I had given myself a little bit more grace back then, because I didn't. I want to share with you some thoughts that are coming to me as I sort of reflect upon this. I can see who I was back then. I started my private practice when I was 32, 33 years old. I had a full-time job running the family therapy department at a residential treatment center, started my practice on the side while we were in the middle of adopting our firstborn. And I found a wise mentor in my community who was willing to let me use his office. He was a clinical psychologist who had never done that before, and he made a point to let me know. He was kind of stepping out of his own comfort zone to let me use his space. He had a beautiful office full of classical French antiques. It was really pretty. Let's just say that wasn't exactly my style. But I was so excited about dipping my toe into this world. And I was excited about being able to help people at a deeper level. I would love the freedom to see people and serve people the way I wanted to. And back then, when I first got started, y'all, I would see what I used to say back then is I would work with anybody who could walk or talk. Like pretty much anyone who could get themselves to my door, I would see them. Back then, I think about this 32-year-old with a toddler at home, a baby business, a fairly heavy responsibility in her day job, trying to figure out how to make all of that work at once. And all of it was new to me. Motherhood was new to me. Business was new to me. And I think about who I was. I definitely had that sort of social work heart that is so core to who I am to this day. I not only wanted to serve everybody because I was anxious about making money, but I wanted to serve everybody because I just wanted to help everybody, right? That's kind of where we all start. I also, although I didn't know it at the time, I was a little bit cocky too. Like, I think I had a little bit of arrogance in a way, because when I first started my practice, I was easing my way out from under this role as a department head at a hospital. And, there's a lot of structure and a lot of rules. And this was when managed care was first beginning to come online. And so there were all kinds of new expectations that we were not used to at the time. And when I was starting this practice on the side, the fact that I had the freedom to do it the way I wanted to, or at least I told myself that, was pretty intoxicating at the time. And I kind of felt like I knew what I was doing and I didn't really need anybody's help. But what I didn't tell anybody, and what sort of hurts my heart a little bit when I think back to it, I look at that young woman that I was back then, and I see how idealistic she was, how excited she was, how eager she was to figure this stuff out, and also how quickly she got in over her head. Like, one of the first surprises for me was that I did like the responsibility that came with running my own business. But I also quite quickly began to experience the guilt and the shame that comes when everything looks good on the surface, but it ain't so good behind the scenes. My husband was the director of nursing at a treatment center, a different place from where I was. And he knew nothing about running a business at all. He'd always worked in hospitals. And he would ask me, so did you get paid today? Got clients today? That kind of thing. And I can remember feeling squirmy because back then I had my practice was completely based on insurance, and we were filing claims by hand in the mail, and it would take sometimes 6 months to get paid for a session. You add that to the fact that I am not so great at that kind of thing anyway, and that I would rather do almost anything in the world than sit down and do my billing work. And it did not take long before I was behind on pretty much all of my accounts, and I got completely overwhelmed with chasing insurance payments. See, back then, I thought success and freedom meant I could see a client at 7 o'clock in the morning if I wanted to, or 8 o'clock at night if I wanted to, and I could see a whole family if I wanted to, or split them up into subsets if I wanted to. If I wanted to start a group, I could start a group. I had the freedom to try things, and I loved that. But I didn't love figuring out how to pay quarterly taxes, and I didn't love staying on top of the business side of running a practice. What I remember about that time was how alone I felt with that part of it. It was fun and easy to talk to colleagues about the referrals or about the clinical work. That was easy and exciting. Sometimes it was the wrong kind of exciting when I had clients that I didn't know what to do with, and I'm alone in a solo office at 7 o'clock at night and, dealing with a difficult situation. It wasn't always easy, but talking about that part was definitely easier than talking about the rest of it. And I just feel for that young Wendy in her early 30s who was trying so hard to figure it all out by herself and who didn't tell anybody how much trouble she was having. I'm wondering if you can relate. See, a lot of us start a private practice with passion and purpose, but we don't have the perspective to understand the ins and outs of what it means to run a business in addition to being a clinician or a healer. We are trained to serve others. We're not trained to run a business. I didn't take any classes like that in grad school, did you? And if somebody had told me to, I would have resisted it because I didn't care about it. So I did what so many of us do. I just tried to wing it. I tried to kind of cobble together policies and pricing I tried to sort of figure out a schedule that where I could see the clients who really needed to see me, but still get home in time to help my kids with their homework as they grew older. Like I was constantly battling the tension between literally being there for anything my clients needed, anything. And I could tell you some stories. I would go above and beyond all the time. And at the same time, I had a family who needed me. I had a spouse who needed me. And honestly, what I did not know then was that I needed me. And I was often at the very bottom of that pile. I was often the last one in line to get what I needed. So many of us get this wrong. When we start a practice, we don't always understand the importance of boundaries. We don't always understand the importance of learning the business side of running a practice. And it can feel icky in the beginning. It feels like that is somehow or another in competition with the compassion that we have for our clients. We think that being there for them means that we are endlessly available. I still struggle with this a little bit with after hours contact sometime. I still have a little trouble with that. But here's what my 30-something self didn't know back then. What I didn't know back then that I do know now is that healthy boundaries are sacred for a successful practice. I was so freaking uncomfortable with money. I did not know back then, and I wish I could go back and tell her, the her that I was then, that profitability is not greed, it's not selfishness, it's not ick, it is sustainability. It's more than that, it's respect. And I wish I could go back and tell her, because that person worked her tail off 24/7. I wish I could tell her that rest is not a reward for having done a good job. Rest is a requirement for survival. And I did not do that. I did not do that. But when we ignore those basic truths, we build practices that drain us rather than sustain us. And that's, in many ways, that's what I did back then. I always took so much pleasure from the clinical side of things that I tended to ignore the rest of it until it came time to pay taxes, or until it came time to pay bills, and I could barely do it. Or, when I was finally forced to sit down and look at accounts because I had a client who was asking me about it and realized how much money I was going to lose because I had not done what I needed to do. It was tough, and I beat myself up about it a lot, and I didn't tell anybody. And if I could reach back through time, I would give that young Wendy a hug today, and I would tell her it's going to get better. And I kind of want to do that for you. I want to do that for you. I've got some very specific kind of some points I want to make here for you, some tips I want to give you that I wish I could have given myself back then. Before I do that, let me just tell you about an opportunity that I want to share with you that I have just started bringing out. I did this a while back, and I have not offered it in a few years now. I have a small, sweet, lovely mini course called Mind Over Money that is the easiest, gentlest, and also kind of cool way that you can get lessons, stories, inspirations, guidance to help shift your awareness, shift your attention, shift your relationship to abundance and lack by learning what to pay attention to. And I'd love to offer you an opportunity to get your hands on this little course, because it's something you can do or absorb, learn from 5 minutes a day. It's that simple. This is not a heavy lifter at all. Folks who have taken it in the past have told me they miss it when it ends. That's the kind of course this is. And normally I offer this at $97 for the whole thing. It's a 31-day thing, y'all. It's a 31-day little daily drip that I think you would love. Right now, and for the next little while here, you can get this at over half off. If you'll go to wendypittsreeves.com/mind, remember, mind over money, wendypittsreeves.com/mind, you can read all about the course, what's involved, what you get for it, why you will love it. And then if you decide that this is right for you, When you go to sign up for it, use the promo code IDEAL50, capital IDEAL, the number 50, IDEAL50, and you will automatically get $50 off, meaning the whole thing only costs you $47. And that's a steal, y'all, because it's good. So I want to mention that to you because that course honestly could help with some of the things I wish I had known back then. I could have used that in my early 30s. All right, let me give you some of the lessons that I know now that I wish I could have told my 30-something self. If I could reach back to her as a young therapist, I would give her a checklist. And here are some of the things that would be on it. First of all, I would tell her, remember why you started this at all. Keep your mission, your purpose close to your heart. Remember that you want to make a difference. Remember why you thought this was a good idea. And remember that you are making a difference in other people's lives, but also in your own. Remembering your purpose will keep you going on the days when it's tough, when you're feeling a little beat up or lost or overwhelmed, or you have a client who fires you. Remember your big picture for your family, for your clients, and for yourself, why you even thought this was important. And I would encourage you to write that down and put it somewhere where you can check in on it whenever you need that. The second thing I would tell her would be to niche down and do it soon. I had no idea. No one told me that. I wish I had known that. I would tell younger Wendy, you do not have to help everyone. And in fact, it's a mistake to try. Find your people, find your tribe, and go deep with them. You can always expand or shift later. But choose those people that you know you really love, that you want to work with, and niche down now. Do that soon. Soon. The third thing I would tell her is to focus on the quality of her service and making sure she gets results for those clients. I would tell her to make it her business to be really good at what she does. If that means working with mentors, coaches, taking extra training, going and getting certified in something, whatever she needed to do to serve those people at the highest, deepest level, I would tell her to do. Because that's what is going to make the rest of it work, right? It's being good at what you do. The fourth thing I would tell her is to find a way to stave off the overwhelm by adding structure to her business from the beginning. And in particular, the one piece of advice I would give my 30-something self would be to map out what an ideal week looks like. When is family time? When is solo personal time? When is client time? And when is CEO time? I would tell her to carve out CEO time on a regular basis every single week and make it every bit as inviolable as the rest. And to use that time to work on her business, use the rest of the time to work in her business. I would tell her that because that would have helped her stop getting so overwhelmed in those early days. The fifth thing I would tell her is to get over this anxiety she has about getting paid, to stop feeling bad about it and to instead own it and welcome it, to recognize that getting paid is a recognition of the value that she brought to the table, as well as a way to honor her client's decision to invest in themselves through their work with her. I wish I could go back and tell her because she felt so guilty about getting paid and barely could bring herself to talk about it. You can't help anybody if you're broke, y'all. And she was broke a lot. And if I could reach through time, I would tell her, drop that, let go of that. That is not helping your clients and it's not helping you. Own your value, step into it, and talk about the money side of things confidently because everything else is going to get better when you do. The sixth thing I would tell her, I wish I could do this, is to believe in herself more. This kind of goes along with the payment side, but I would tell her that she is worth the money that she's being paid. I would tell her not to be afraid to own her value, to recognize her talent, to not be afraid to tell clients that, yeah, she could help them because she knows that she can. And I would also really, 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 really push her to let herself show up and be seen. I would tell her to get out of her office, go meet people, find a way to engage with her community, find a way to be seen. get used to asking for the business. And I would tell her to believe that she deserved it, because she did. And then probably the most important thing I would tell my 30-something-year-old self is to just recognize that she's going to have blind spots, that there are going to be days when she's not at all sure what she's doing, and that she does not need to try to do this by herself. I would tell her she's going to need resources and support, because she's got those blind spots. She can't see what she can't see. And I would tell her to get used to actively seeking out support from the beginning, from people who can teach her what she needs to learn. I would also teach her to cultivate an abundance mindset, and I would start getting on to her about the language she used. I sure would. I would tell her to watch the language she used, because words have power. And when she went around talking about how she didn't care about the money, or she didn't want to talk about money, or she didn't want clients to have to hand her money, all she was doing was creating a reality that was not the one she wanted. And I would talk to her a lot about the language she used and encourage her to cultivate abundance language, self-respect language. Yeah, that's what I would do. The gist of it, if I could reach back to my younger self, is I would tell her to sort of own her awesome from the beginning, step more fully into her power, take this business seriously, understand that her social work heart was the foundation of it, but was not the whole thing, and that she had to learn the rest of it too. And then I would give her a great big hug and a high five. Yes, I would. Because of those kinds of things are the small but steady choices that will turn an average practice into an ideal one. Yeah, and that's what I want for you. If some of those ideas resonate with you, make sure that you're tuned in. Make sure that you're following me. Make sure that you are following this show. Click to subscribe if you can, so that you are notified about the good stuff that's coming down the pike. When I bring Evolve out into the public in February, you're going to want to know about it, because this is exactly the kind of thing I'm going to be teaching there. And some of this, y'all, you'll also get in Mind Over Money, which is, Lord, think of that like a little appetizer and a way to get sort of a taste of how I think and how I work. You might like that too. Well, if I could go back now and talk to my younger self, or for that matter, let me just talk to you, I would tell you, as I would have told me, that you're doing just fine. Any mistakes that you're making are just going to add to your wisdom over time. They are teaching you how to be a better clinician. The waiting that you have to do while you're figuring stuff out, that's going to make you strong. The work that you're doing will someday feel a little bit lighter. It is true that our evolution as a practice owner and as a healer never stops. There is no end to this journey. You really do evolve to the next level over and over. And at each new level, you will face new challenges. But you will also become stronger, more resilient, more self-aware, more capable, and more sure at every step of the way. And it will get to the point to where when those challenges happen, they don't knock you down nearly the way they used to, because you understand what's going on now and you know yourself better, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I would tell my younger self, which would be so crazy if I could do this. I would go back to my 33-year-old self who was just trying to figure out how to put a ledger together. And I would say, you don't know it right now, because right now you're feeling kind of foolish. But one day you're going to be sitting behind a microphone, and you're going to be talking about all this and all that you've learned, sharing it with others who are walking the same road. And you're going to feel like you have come full circle back to where you started. And isn't that a lovely place to be? Yeah. That's your reflection for this week. And I would love to invite you, to ask you, what would you say to your younger self, to the version of you that was just getting started? If you're there now, this is awesome. Then you have an opportunity right now to look in the mirror and talk to the person you see there. If it's been a while, if you're like me and this was years ago, I would love to see you write your younger self a letter, or for that matter, your present self, and thank her or him for the risks she's been able to take. Thank her for her willingness to try. Thank her for her willingness to mess up, get up, and try it all again. Forgive her for what she didn't know yet, because she didn't know what she didn't know. But praise her for all the things she has learned. And remind her that the life she was dreaming of when she started that practice, the life that you're dreaming of right now, you're building. We are building today. And isn't that what it's all about? Yeah. That's what I got for you today, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a beautiful week. I hope you are kind to yourself this week, because we all could use a little bit more of that. And I will see you next time right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.